on the street. I'm your son. I watch you.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Talking Niagara. And Dave enters just about on time.
Yes, sir.
So we are here. It's Friday, November 5th, and first week in November, December. I mean, is gone. What have you been doing to it, Dave?
Sorry, I had a video going on by accident and didn't hear you.
Okay, no worries. Okay, so welcome everybody to Talking Niagara this morning. Okay, so first story we've got is about Niagara Transit budget. It is including more Sunday and holiday services. Yes, good idea. They're also looking at 6.7% increase in budget, which isn't too bad considering some of the other budgets that we've been looking at. But
yes, okay, go ahead.
It's still concerning, right? And I'm not saying, hey, I'm the first to say that we need more holiday and Sunday services, and that we need, and that they have to address the inflationary pressures. I get it, but I've been thinking for now, we've been operating a consolidated regional transit system, I think, for 3 years now.
This means the owner of a house valued of about $620,000 is poised to pay $6 to $16 more on the region's special transit levy.
Okay. So here's my question
That's on top of whatever the region budget comes in at, plus water rates, depending on where a resident lives. So you're looking at significant increases in the tax bill.
Here's where my question lies. So they're saying $6 to $6.7 to $16 more per household. So I'm thinking, okay, so when I think about this, that means that those in places like West Lincoln or Waynfleet or Pelham will be paying $16 extra, while those of us who live in St. Catharines and Niagara Falls will be paying $6 extra. But oh no, that's not the way it's going to work. St. Catharines pays $16 more, Niagara pays $16 more, Welland pays $15 more, Thorold $14 more, Grimsby $12 more, and Pelham, Waynfleet, and West Lincoln pay $6 more. No, that's the wrong way around. They've got that top heavy.
Well, that's where most of the service is going to be implemented, isn't it? All the new extra services are the bulk of the new services are going to be implemented in the larger urban areas or the larger population areas.
That's true.
So it kind of makes sense on that.
But you also get a better per usage amount available in those urban areas, right? You should be more effective in the urban areas than you are in the suburban area, in the rural areas.
I don't know how they based it, but here you have a clear distinction between wants and needs. Evidently, they think we need this. Normally, the number one ask, it says here, since 2011, when the region started taking over the intermunicipal bus service and transit service, the number one ask is more service during the weekends.
Yeah, I get that.
Of course, because the transit system is really not a profit organization, it hardly even touches paying for itself, but is essential. As the place grows, you need transit systems that get people to work back and forth. There's lots of people that can't afford a car. There are lots of other people, if they can take the bus, they will. So you need a transit system. And the number one ask, of course, is better transit on the weekend.
Yeah.
If there's more transit on the weekend, will more people use it? obviously they've thought, well, we need to increase that service. If we increase that service, we'll get more people using it. Maybe that will mean more people shopping, more people moving their money around, more people going to restaurants, more people going to events. Maybe that's the thing that's going to happen. We didn't, during the weekends, we didn't have interprovincial service. Now we will have it.
Yeah.
Will it be worth it though? That's the thing. These are the wants.
Well, I think you need
obviously in a situation where everybody's keying up on taxes and everybody knows the burden of taxes now.
Yeah.
They have decided, despite that, to increase the burden of tax, to increase the amount of transit service. So is it going to pay for itself, or is it going to be worth it? That's what
what I'm getting at is that, yes, smaller municipalities have a lower, the transit has a lower impact, but I think that they should be paying a higher amount because it costs more to take services to Waynflete, Pelham, and West Lincoln.
Well, that was the whole point of being interregional, to make all the parts of the region accessible. So if you start charging one part of the region more than the other,
you're charging the households in St. Catharines a lot more than you're charging the households in West Lincoln. And West Lincoln, it costs more to get a bus to West Lincoln, Pelham, and Waynflete.
Yeah, but the amount of traffic is minimal, and the amount of services increase. The increased services are going to be the ones mostly benefiting those in the main regions, main population regions. So if you're going to charge anybody, you're going to charge the ones that use it the most, and that would be Niagara Falls, St. Catharines, and Welland, because there was where the biggest concentration of people are. They're where more of the buses have to go. That's where more of the bus transit has to happen. But they seem to have made some kind of arrangements for reducing the amount of like they say that we're averaging about 621,000 trips a month, which is like adding an extra month to the year. That extra month it requires investment, and we're not keeping pace. Basically, the growth and the demand for the service is not keeping pace. The challenges in the base services budget include 14% increase of $700,000 in health benefits, a 9% increase of $251,000 in vehicle parts costs, $75,000 in security costs for the Welland terminal.
And I get those because that's what they said in here about addressing inflationary pressures on fuel, labor, and maintenance. That's part of the operating cost that they're talking about. And again, that's going to be something that we have to pay across the region, but not just for transit, but for other things as well. Pretty well everybody who's employed, the insurance has gone up, the benefit packs have all gone up in cost and such things. And I'm not suggesting we take them away from employees at all. It's just that we have to face that reality. Inflation hits.
Well, here it comes. It says Stout said that limiting the transit budget increase to 3.5% will require a transit commission to cut the Sunday and holiday service improvements and drop a contribution to the Capital Reserve Fund. That's basically it. Niagara Transit began operations after local bus systems amalgamated in January 2023. And transit receives about $6.5 million in annual capital transfers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it has a big pie chart showing how it's all broken down. Enough to, so also there, then you have the outlier like St. Catharines Councillor Haley Bateman said the Niagarans feel the transit system isn't doing enough to electrify its fleet. Oh, seriously.
At the moment, electrification is second priority to these other issues.
Yeah, eventually, it'd be nice to have trams, electric trams. It could be anything. Electric buses would have to have an incredibly large battery.
Well, actually, the thing about electric buses is, years and years ago in southern England, we used to go to occasional holidays in Bournemouth. And one of the great things about Bournemouth was the fact that they had these buses that would take electric from the power lines above the bus,
Well, yeah, like a streetcar or
a trolley bus or a streetcar, yeah.
yeah. There
And
was
they were,
electric buses. There was electric buses in Toronto a long time ago, and they
yeah.
were kind of using the same power lines that the Red Rockets did, the streetcars.
Well, and those power lines actually mean that you don't actually have to risk batteries in buses.
Yeah, that's a possibility. But if you're going to go
But it does mean you've got to put them up, so there's a cost in putting them up there.
if you're going to go intercity, you're going to need that. Now it may be in the future. Right now, I think they have to concentrate on getting their service as well as they can and then with ease transfer into electrical. But it has to be cost effective.
Yeah.
We are talking now about she's brought this up to electrify their fleet. Well, that's good, and I think eventually it should be. But at this particular time, when people finding the pinch, if you begin to electrify, how much more will that cost?
Yeah, and that's a problem. That's a problem that I don't think the taxpayer should pay right now. I'm not saying we shouldn't electrify. I'm 100% for electrification, but the cost is something the taxpayer can't afford right at this moment.
Yeah, they're going to have to build a case for that. They're going to have to build a case. Yeah. Well, we're going to need charging stations. Once the initial investment is done, where you have your charging stations and all that, and what is the initial outlay for electric bus over a combustion bus? What is that? You see what I mean? You have to itemize it. There's going to be an initial capital outlay, and then is it going to be cheaper or more expensive or about the same to maintain that service?
And for example, when you bring a bus into a bus station like the one in St. Catharines Central, right? You're going to park that bus up, and the first thing the driver is going to do is to put the electric plug in. Right? May only be there for 10 minutes, but it's going to have to be plugged up before anybody gets off that bus.
Well, what's wrong with that?
Nothing wrong with. If you go to electric, that's the way it's going to have to be. You plug the bus in before passengers get off.
Well, with it depends on the capacity of the battery.
Yeah,
that will all have to be planned. If there's a layover for 15 minutes, if the bus driver gets a 15-minute break before he starts again, you might want to plug it in. You could get a quick 10-minute speed charge. That would top up some of your batteries or add a little bit more to it.
Well, it'll all
depend. It'll all depend on battery capacity, but those things are yet to come, and the facilities to build things. Right now, we have our mechanics, our municipal mechanics, everything who know exactly what to do with diesel buses and all that. Then when you begin to convert to electrify, that's a whole different ball of wax, and it includes an initial capital investment. And right now, when everybody's feeling the pinch, and I don't see that going away anytime soon, either. I think the standard of living for the average Canadian is pretty well stalled at a particular time, and we have to fight to make sure that it doesn't go any lower. Rather than everybody thinks there's this expectation that our standard of living is going to go back up. For the middle class person, that standard of living may not go up at all. We might just have to keep our heads above water. Yeah, and yet there are demands, more and more demands on us, tax-wise, consumer-wise, and all that.
Yeah. So, and the average working Joe, it's going to be hard for the next few years. I see.
Yeah, I don't see. We may plane off. We may sort of get to a point where we're not we're kind of holding our own as middle class people, but I don't see the strains on the middle class income and being anywhere relieved right now. I mean, I can go do the pitchforks and riots and pitchforks kind of thing where most of the wealth is being gravitated more and more to the top 10 or even more so to the top 1%.
Yeah.
So if I don't know that and yet the middle class is the one that is being put upon most for things like transit systems and their house taxes and everything else of those kind.
Okay, Mike makes the point.
It's going to be a real, like, I mean, the needs and wants kind of thing. We keep coming back to that phrase. And well, the weekend bus service may pay for itself or may enhance the economy of the region. That's the number one ask. Obviously, somebody's looked at it and thought to be able to transport people on the weekend, similar to the way they do it during the week, would be an advantage to the region. And it must be somewhat economically advantaged to the region. Otherwise, it wouldn't happen.
Well, Mike makes the point that moving away from diesel is not necessarily a move to electric.
Well, you could go to hybrid. You could go. That's an option. Hybrid. Yeah. I don't know how many hybrid buses there are. There's natural gas. They stopped using natural gas though. It was a good fuel, but I don't know. They just didn't put enough investment into natural gas cars.
Or buses. Well, they had natural gas buses for a while. I remember seeing them in various places I've been to. They would make a big thing. Many bus companies would make a big thing about using PNG. And this was more in the 90s, I would say, than it would be today.
Yeah, there were some taxi cabs and other things that were natural gas, but they never did get fully integrated, and that's the problem. I knew guys that I knew a guy had a truck that ran on propane. Like there was cab companies that had natural gas cars. But even though they burnt well, the fuel burnt well, there was less carbon deposits within the engine too. For some reason, it just didn't take off. I don't know.
It's the same with, well, actually, it was many cab companies that used propane as well, or used past tense.
Yeah, and everybody's right back to the ordinary combustion engine. So,
yeah.
Combustion engine today is a very efficient little thing, and or big thing, depending on where you are. Combustion engine technology has advanced over the past 100 years incredibly. It's going to be hard to replace the efficiency of a combustion engine.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, so so that's basically what he's saying is that the move isn't necessarily to electric, but maybe to natural gas or something like that.
I very doubt it. That they talk about having hydrogen buses, but I doubt that. There are experimental hydrogen buses out there. There have been. That was a big push to introduce hydrogen into vehicles. They would first start it with transit. Have a lot of transit use hydrogen powered vehicles, concentrate on that first and then expand afterwards.
Rick makes the point that they would not start in winter. I'm presuming he means PNG because there is no problem with starting propane in winter because the natural temperature of a propane tank is about -4.
Actually, you take a propane tank and you put the propane into it. It heats up the container. Once that container comes back down to ambient temperatures, then when you release it, that's where it begins to get cold, because now you're releasing pressure.
Yeah, if you're
but if you do it controlled, you're okay.
Yeah, but if you're running a car on propane, there is if you were to, there's a thing that the American borders do and they can X-ray a car, and they pick up on things like temperature differences. And propane gas tank is actually a point whereby they pick up on that significant difference.
Sure, when the
And as soon as
propane is released from the
as
tank,
soon as
it
they realize
begins
it's
to get
propane,
cooler.
yeah, as soon as they
That's
realize
because,
it's propane, it's not a problem.
yeah, that's like any pressurized
Yeah,
vessel. When you release the pressure, all
yeah,
right. Look at it this way: you take any take a tank, a natural gas tank, or a propane tank. You you put the gas into it. You pressurize it. When you do that, it gets very hot because what you're doing is you're increasing the friction inside. But once you close that system off and that heat in there becomes ambient now you have a pressurized gas that is now ambient temperature, that same temperature as the atmosphere.
yeah.
When you release that energy, now you're doing the reverse. You're releasing pressure, which now causes the tank to become cold because you're releasing the temperature. You're releasing the gas, reducing the temperature, and causing it to be colder than in and around, like it was hotter when you pressurize it. It's just doing the opposite.
And if Rick, I think, is talking about propane runs. I used to run propane in the taxi that I drove a few years ago. They run in the coldest of winter weather. In fact, the propane tank is actually naturally colder than a gas tank.
Well, it's a pressurized gas. That's the whole
Yeah,
thing. And once the
exactly.
pressurized gas comes out, the gas itself is released at the same temperature that the ambient temperature
I'm not
goes
talking
into
about,
the engine
yeah,
and
no, no.
then gets sparked or whatever else
Well, in
has to
fact,
happen.
actually, propane burns hotter than does gasoline.
Well, yeah, it should because it's already in a gas form, whereas
Yeah.
gasoline has to be vaporized, kind of before it's ignited. So, yeah, and it
Well, the engine.
that doesn't make any difference at all, though. Like, I
No,
mean,
it doesn't make any difference. What you've got is an engine temperature line that's, say, just beneath half if you're running on gasoline, whereas if you're running on propane, you're running at just a tad above half. Right? It doesn't make a major difference at all in terms of the running of the engine. Anyway, moving
well,
on.
the engine coolant system takes care of that, though. You see what I mean?
Exactly.
I mean,
Yeah,
it doesn't matter. Like, you could have a fuel that comes in that is even more volatile. The circulatory system of the engine is what displaces the heat.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Niagara College has got a $12 million research greenhouse.
Yeah, this is pretty interesting.
Cool. That's pretty cool.
It looks like it's $12 million, and nowadays you don't think that's much of an investment, but it is a big deal for Niagara, the Niagara College. But listen to what the things were going on. They would have experimental tomatoes, and they would find they needed a special place for this because their facilities up until now in their labs were just not good enough. They'd have a special shelf or special area for tomatoes to grow, and what they found was experimental tomatoes. What they found was people walked through and eat their tomatoes. They had hydrangeas growing one time, and somebody scooped them and sold them.
Yeah.
So now they need a special place to go. I mean, where they can actually do experiments. And look, they're going to do research constantly. When we think of research, we think of the huge research that Big Pharma does, or what NASA does, or what Boeing does, or whatever, aerospace. But research happens on a very basic level every day for day-to-day things. They talked about hydrangeas as in tomatoes. So they're trying to figure out how to grow a better tomato in the different areas in and around Niagara, obviously, or they may have a commission to wonder how they can grow tomatoes closer to the colder areas of Ontario.
And you
so
think
they need to have that space to experiment, and within the conditions that they're looking for, soil, temperature, and all that. That is not what they had.
Think about this, Dave. A student who's going through the Niagara College agricultural program needs to know about about advanced climate control systems. They need to know about using hydroponics, using aquaponics. They need to know about this stuff. So if you don't put them in a college, where are you going to put them? Where are those people going to learn it? They have to learn it within a college, because that's part of horticulture and agriculture today.
Well, yeah, there's many aspects, of course, to it, and the fact is they're going to have a purpose-built facility for research. Obviously,
Yeah.
they tried to share space. Their experimental part of trying to share space with other parts, it didn't work. People meddled with it, even sold their hydrangeas. Oh God! I mean, that sounds government, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Somebody stole the hydrangeas and sold them. And but now they have a purpose-built place, which is pretty good. And in the Niagara region, we really could use that, particularly with all the agriculture we've got going on here.
Yeah,
but
it's good for that. It's good for them. It makes a lot of sense. And as I said, where's the student going to learn climate control systems if not in college?
College researchers, reading right from the article, now have space to help growers and industry partners, fruits, vegetables, flowers, food products, viticulture, waste repurposing, fertilizers, greenhouse technologies, and more across the country to validate new products, refine and optimize production strategies. That's what this is for. So in any way, they call it's like a scientific playground for plant nerds. Really is how I look at it. That's the guy, Scott Gollum.
Yeah, and the other thing about this is what is called vertical farming, because that's where you can actually understand, how that you can actually stack plants and have them all equally, equally sustainable in a stacking system.
It says here, this guy's name is Scott Gollum. The Gollum thing stands out at me, so I wonder when he talks about the new greenhouse if he calls it precious.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Interesting. Okay, we got one comment in relation to that. Mike's saying have a great weekend, everybody. Yeah, of course, Mike. We know you're
You
off
too,
to
Mike.
Yeah. Okay. U.S. producers warn that Trump's tariffs jeopardize their access to Canada and Mexico.
Well, finally, all the opposition to Trump's tariffs have been galvanized. At first, most of the industries have been really reluctant to go against Trump because he was handing out penalties for anybody that said anything bad about him. So he'd come down hard on him. However, the forces that be have amalgamated, and basically the industries in the United States have come out and said, look, you have to keep USMCA, or what we call up here CUSMA, going. That has to be renewed. It has been a boom to our industries. It has been better for us to have it than not to have it. They're very alarmed that the CUSMA thing will reduce. And they make the argument that American technology and American industry has had nothing but a boom from the NAFTA type free trade agreement we've had between the three countries. And go ahead.
And an ongoing I can't.
And that's what we need on this show, some background music.
Ongoing, you see, there's an ongoing hearing that ends today by the Office of U.S. Trade Representative, U.S. Trade Representative, and it's the centerpiece of a government consultation about whether to renew this CUSMA agreement. And there's a whole deal of people giving evidence to this session, including Dave Walton, Secretary of American Soybean Association, who's been speaking out against it because he's saying the move hits Canadian and Mexican exports with tariffs, including those targeting specific industrial products such as steel, aluminium, and automotive parts, and increases the likelihood that the US soybean farmers will end up in the crosshairs of potential retaliation.
Well, the tariffs on the steel and aluminum only increases prices for producers down in the States. As we said before, the U.S. could probably match the steel it gets from Canada, but it cannot match the aluminum. So it's really, really, really dumb. But it's really, really dumb to put a 50% increase on aluminum. But here they've done what they've always done with Trump, is they've got to walk around him like walking on eggshells. Because the first thing they did was praise Trump's NAFTA agreement, the Kuzma agreement that he made back in his first term. They told him, "Oh, what a wonderful thing you did! How great it was! You're great! You're wonderful! You're good!" Even though it was just a remake of a previous NAFTA agreement, but he just did. Oh, it's just wonderful, great! You are great! You got to do it again. You did a great thing. You got to do a great thing again with the free trade thing. So they're very much afraid that Trump might go off on a tangent and break down the free trade agreement. But they, like I said, they've approached him like everybody does approach him. They kind of bow, they give him presents, tell him how wonderful he is, and then go on to tell him how dumb he would be to not go ahead and renegotiate the Kuzma agreement very much like it is now. Now, of course, there are irritants in the Kuzma thing. Dairy is one of them, but it's such a minor player. It's a thing that Trump always brings up all the time, but it's an extremely minor player, and no tariffs have ever gone on any American dairy products so far because there are high tariffs on outside dairy products when they reach a point of import. When there's X amount of gallons of milk imported, I don't know what it is. Let's say you're allowed X amount of gallons of milk tariff free. Anything after that is tariff. Well, we've never yet imported enough milk from the United States to qualify as a tariff. It's only up to a little bit more than half of what is tariff free coming into Canada. So that's always just a smokescreen that Trump uses, the dairy thing. And it is a tiny, tiny part of the economic relationships. The manufacturing spokespeople here says that you're talking about industrial loss. Well, one of the things is it benefited U.S. industrial manufacturing is Kuzma. That is what helped lift it back up when it was becoming weakened by other trade with other countries, particularly China. That the cross border between Canada and Mexico helped sustain and even grow that in the United States. So basically what they're saying, oh, you are such a wonderful, you are gifted man, and you did the Kuzma thing, how wonderful you are. Don't think you just must do that again. Oh, wonderful, wonderful man. So that's the approach they're using right now.
Yeah.
However, I don't know if it's going to work because...
Well, and the thing is...
and Lutnick is an idiot.
Well, the thing is about this is thousands of American workers are finding their jobs more and more at risk. And I get that he wants to bring American manufacturing home, but jobs are at risk because those products go both ways.
Yeah, well, obviously the steel industry likes what they see, or at least the The union, okay, more jobs for us. But if they start to lose market in Canada, they might think the other way. Right now, they have market in Canada, and they're reducing the amount of steel that comes from Canada, so they are increasing. But sooner or later, that's going to reverse, and the market in Canada will reduce because Canadian steel mills will be redirected towards domestic use. That will shut off American imports. I mean, it has total expansion in the Kuzma thing makes much more sense than the isolationism that's happening in the United States right now. And the isolationism, all that does is, in the long run, push prices up. The tariffs, of course, are not doing anybody any favors. We'll see what the Supreme Court says about the tariffs, even though they're pretty much mega. Six out of the nine are mega judges.
Yeah. Well, actually, I wouldn't say it like that. I don't think they are MAGA judges at all. I think they
are.
No, I think they're conservative.
I think 4 of those 6 are MAGA judges.
No, I think they're more conservative. I don't think that they are MAGA per se.
No, I think they have. I think they have MAGA ideology.
Some may.
I do. Yeah.
Some may, but again, judges judges who are more conservative will tend to be, tend to believe the status quo rather than implement new things like this.
Well, it's the way they've backed up the Trump administration, and it's been along party lines, basically 6-3, 6-3, 6-3 all the time. It's the MAGA judges versus the totally cool, fair-minded Democratic judges. But anyway, so here we have home builders. Home builders have approached the American government. They're touting the fact that it's provided numerous benefits to the signatory countries and to American home builders specifically.
Yeah.
So they're trying to get tariff-free on the stuff that comes from Canada and Mexico when it comes to home building stuff. Well, it says here they're being careful and polite. They're like pussyfooting around. Not pussyfooting, but being kind of really you're wonderful, but guess what? You want to be wonderful like you were last time when you renegotiated the NAFTA agreement, not got rid of it like you're saying here. Now, American automakers, you would think, now, of course, the union, American Automaker Union are happy that he wants to build all the cars here, but American automakers, likewise, the trade deal is essential to the U.S. auto industry competitiveness, and delivers important benefits to American workers and customers, according to a submission from General Motors. Since the deal was finalized, GM has massive investments in North America, including $60 billion in U.S. It also says that it helps to compete with the Japanese and European and Chinese automakers. Kuzma is one of those things that helps them compete with them. Ford calls Kuzma a cornerstone for attracting investment, creating jobs, expanding the domestic manufacturing base in the U.S. auto sector. These are all things that are benefits of the Kuzma free trade deal. These are the things they're going to hit them with. If they want to steal auto jobs from us, the auto industry is saying, no, leave it the way it is. It's way better for us if you leave it the way it is. Retail and consumer goods sector.
Well, in the end of the
they're
day,
after them hammer and tong. The National Retail Federation. The trade deal has operated effectively overall since its creation, benefited American consumers, suppliers, and competitiveness. The group represented a sector that of 5.3 billion U.S. and 55 million jobs.
The whole point about everything you've just said there is it says that what he's forgetting here is that there are markets beyond, that yes, by doing what he's doing, that may bring manufacturing back internally into the US, but he's forgetting the fact that we sell a whole heap of stuff in Canada and Mexico.
Yes, the whole idea that these are the idea. Okay, you get aluminum from Canada, so you're going to put a 50% tariff on it, but that aluminum, all right, comes into the United States. It's put in products and it's sold back to Canada and Mexico. So you want to put a tariff on it to make it unlikely that that thing's going to be repurchased back again in Canada or whatever. So what you do is you take the raw material, you add value to it, and then you sell it.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? You've made money off it. And so it's dumb. It's like a shoemaker who doesn't have a cattle farm to get his hides from. You know what I mean? He buys the hides. Yeah. Right. He doesn't have the hides, but he buys them. And of course,
shoemaker. The shoemaker doesn't have the hides, but he has to buy them from a a farmer or those who specialize in bringing hides in to the market.
Yeah. Then he adds value to the hides. How much? How much money is he going to make off the farmers? He's going to sell them a couple pair of shoes, but he's going to have to buy that for a huge amount of money. But the fact is that he adds value to the leather and sells it to a bunch of different people. So he has a trade imbalance with the farmer who produces the hides, but that doesn't really matter because he has added value onto that. So the farmer makes money off disproportionate amount of money off the shoemaker, but the shoemaker makes money off of everyone else and thereby makes a profit. So the whole idea of protection just doesn't make sense.
Where the shoemaker doesn't make a profit is when he's forced to put the cost of his shoe up from $100 to $200.
Yes, because of some dumb tariff.
Yeah.
Now we can now extrapolate or move on into what Costco is doing right now. Yeah, Costco is jumping on this now. These are what we just talked about as industrial areas. Trying to tell Trump that what he did in his first term with that free trade agreement is the way to go. His tariff thing is not to go, at least as far as Canada and Mexico are concerned. The tariff approach to Canada and Mexico is bad. They don't talk about the outside of that agreement. They say that the Kuzma agreement is very beneficial to the U.S. economy. That is their argument.
And Costco is basically saying, you've screwed us and we're suing you, Mr. Trump.
Yes. Up until now, Costco has done what the Trump government had hoped that retailers would do. It ate a significant part of the tariff for its customers. It realized that if you dumped a huge amount of increases upon your customers, you would kind of sort of drop them right off. So they ate a significant amount of those tariffs so that their customer base would keep coming in and probably plan to add them little bit by little bit over the years. But now it sees a window to get back the money it spent on tariffs from the government. And it says you did it illegally and we want our money back.
Yeah.
So Costco, which is a big player here, has come up and said that you have done this illegally, and if the senators and the Congress won't do what they're supposed to do, we're going to put you on. We're going to do what they should be doing, is getting rid of tariffs.
And just to to highlight this, Costco is either number one or number two internationally as a retailer.
So they want their money back that they've paid in tariffs, which tells you, of course, that it's the consumer that pays for the tariffs. It's just another tax. You could say, okay, we're not going to have income tax, but what we're going to have instead is tariffs. And we know that the thing that hurts,
I'm going to ask you,
it hurts the lower income person tariffs way more than it hurts I'm going
to ask you,
now. It's not just Costco. It's
No, I know.
Kawasaki, it's Revlon, it's Yokohama, it's Toyota, it's Elko, it's Del Monte, it's Home Depot, I've got a couple other ones, Walgreens and Target. They're all coming after them, and they're not Kuzma type of tariffs they're worried about. They're talking about the tariffs from countries outside of the Kuzma agreement.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you think about it, whilst those tariffs have been on countries outside of Kuzma, those again, all of those tariffs have been relatively stable over the years. And suddenly now this year, you don't know whether you're paying 50%, 150%, or 10%.
Well, what's happened up until now, and what is being reported widely, I think, and Trump government got what it wanted. Basically, it tells you that China's paying the tariffs, Canada's paying the tariffs. No, they're not. It's the American people that are paying the tariffs. However, in order to keep things going, the producers have eaten some of the tariff. The purchasers have eaten about 30% of the tariff. Those who are selling the product are eating about 30%, 20 or 30% of the tariff, and those final sellers are eating some of the tariff. So everybody has yet to feel the full effect of the tariffs.
And I'm going to ask you this, Dave.
Those tariffs will be introduced more slowly over time because the profit margin will have to go back up, of course.
Yeah, and I'm going to ask you this, Dave. How does the working stiff, the guy at the at the coal face, how much of his tax been reduced?
That's interesting. Like, and the taxes that the average guy gets, like no tax on tips and no tax on overtime. Those are only good until 2028. So they're not like permanent ones. There are tax breaks, not like the ones they're giving to the rich people.
Yeah. But you get where I'm coming from. How much is the working stiff going to get reduced his tax by? Not very much.
No, the biggest per income, like if your bananas go up 15% or your car goes up 15% because of the aluminum or whatever has to go into it, that for the average person is a lot of money.
Yeah.
You know, somebody who is wealthy, that doesn't make any difference. You know, they're millions of dollars, so they can have as many bananas or many avocados as they want. It's not like the average family, the average mom and dad going to the grocery store and actually trying to buy a nourishing food and trying to think where can I make savings here, and everything's going up in price. The average staples are going up. So we have here two levels of protest against the tariffs. We have those industries that have benefited hugely from the USMCA, as they call it in the United States. And these are American home builders, American farmers, American industrialists, all saying that this NAFTA agreement we have, Canada, Mexico, and US, should not be touched. It may have to be tweaked here and there, but don't get rid of it. It's making us a whole lot of money, and everybody seems to be benefiting from it, so don't mess with it. And of course they walk around them saying, you were a genius to do it the first time, please be a genius to do it the second time.
Please be a genius and keep it.
You beloved leader. They're very polite and deferential, but the message is clear that Kuzma is more beneficial to the United States than it is without it. And that goes for the other two countries as well. So now then you have Costco and Target and Yokohama Tire and other who depend on products that come from outside of the Kuzma agreement, from China, from Indochina, India, wherever else, Europe, and they are now protesting big time. They want their tariffs back. They've thrown out a big time amount of tariffs. They've eaten a lot of the tariffs for the benefit of the consumer. They are the ones that serve the bulk of the consumers in the United States. The 60% or 70% of us that aren't in that 10% high bracket who need Yokohama Tariff, Revlon, whatever. All these are industries that require stuff from outside of the United States. And they're putting 30, 25, 30, 40% tariffs on the things that they need to keep their industries going. There you have it. The pressure is on all over the place. Yeah. And the dumminess of the whole tariff thing is coming up. If the United States had wanted to put China in its place and make it be a more fair player, it could have got together with every Western democracy and every Western industry and said, look, it's time we got to fix this. We've all been victimized by China and the way it's been playing the game. Let's all get together and help each other out here. But what it did instead is it declared war on friend and foe alike, and it hasn't worked.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not so sure about the, okay, so, yeah. Skyway that will put laid off workers in the auto industry. Well, actually, the Skyway, I'm not sure we want auto workers on it. We want highly skilled bridge construction workers on it. Or let's build a tunnel under the 401. Yeah, like that's going to happen. I think that's not going to happen. Right.
Well, we could throw a lot of illegals there, because when they fall down, they're just going to go on the canal, and that's a good way of getting rid of them. So, well, that's what they do. Like in Florida, they tell me when I was down there, when I was watching a guy on a swing stage, and I said, "Look, oh man, that guy doesn't know how to use it. He's going to hurt himself one day. He's going to fall out of that damn thing." And the guy, Floridian guy beside me, said, "Doesn't matter. He falls, he gets killed. They just go to the bus station and get another one." That is sad, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Okay, moving on. Niagara doctors are urging flu shots after an early surge in cases, and they're basically saying that this is not a normal flu season as holidays approach, and the region's expecting an early surge in influenza, and there's this new H3N2 strain that they're concerned about.
Yeah, and yet they haven't bullseyed this. What viruses do typically is mutate. So the H3N2 virus, which is a particular concern right now, they made a cocktail for an H1N1 and H3N2, but they didn't get the H3N2 exactly right because it mutated. But the doctor here says, in this particular case, it still will help you. It has mutated, so we haven't targeted exactly, but it has targeted it somewhat. It's not as effective as it what it should have been, but it's still effective.
Yeah.
So it's better off to get it than not.
And the region has reported 72 confirmed influenza cases in the last week or so, with 2 outbreaks still active.
Yeah, and they say that it's popping up a lot more in children. Of course, children go to school, they hang out with other kids, and then they bring it home. They're saying here that it's just a matter of time before this, of course, goes into the adult population, because the kids bring it home, and there's a little bit of time delay before the adults get it.
Yeah, and of course, what happens is kids bring it home. The kids spread it across their friends and bring it home. Then their parents get it, and then their parents go into work with it and bring it into work.
Yeah, so basically what they're saying here is, they didn't get the cocktail exactly right, but if you want to protect yourself, go after it. Now, listen to the headlines. You read the headlines, it is like a bad flu season coming and it's already beginning to rear its ugly head. Now, everybody accepts that, okay, it's worse than normal, the flu, et cetera, but you don't get the weirdness of when the COVID thing was coming, where people were dying like crazy, and other people saying it's just mild flu, there's nothing wrong, don't bother getting the vaccine. The vaccine is worse than the disease. When you had 1.1 million people in the U.S. die, you had a number 3 killer in the North America 3 years running, and yet when you have a bad flu season where you get a couple of old people dying, a couple of kids getting going into emergency and stuff like that. I remember one of my boys had to go in emergency for a couple of days. Yeah. The flu had dehydrated him so bad that he had to be put on an IV, along with a bunch of. He was in a ward with 4 other little children, all on IVs. So the flu can be very bad. The flu can be a killer, actually. Yeah. So I don't know. You have to be very, very careful here. Oh, I don't know. It's I don't know. It's a sad thing. But anyway, take care of yourself if you can. It's up to you to get the vaccine if you want it. I would say that if you're older or younger, you might want this vaccine.
Well, Rick says the same as I do. Never had a shot for 40 years. Yep. Never had a shot.
Well, some people are just better. Some people are just better resistance to all that. Yeah. You know, it's just look at all the people that died of COVID. Like there was when I was in the hospital getting my knee done, I was talking to the nurses there. They had 40 people at one time in the emergency or in the ICU. It was the 3rd wave. It happened in February, and I was talking to them, and they had over 40. They had double the capacity in the ICU. Most of them were in good health. They were between 45 and 60 years old and were in otherwise good health. They all died. They all died of COVID. Mm-hmm. You know, they were the people that you wouldn't have expected to die of COVID because there was no precondition. They weren't old. They weren't sick. They didn't have leukemia or asthma or whatever else. They were just ordinary people that looked like they had pretty ordinary health, and they all died.
Yeah. Well, and again, things like that during COVID hit us funny, and we didn't know about a lot of the issues, did we?
No, it was all kinds of misinformation or bad information. And they were always trying to figure out what was going on as it was going. So they're trying to guess a lot. And one of those, sometimes those guesses turn out to be wrong. And then people say, aha, they're trying to deceive you.
Yeah. And the point being is, I don't think they, even despite those claims about deceit, I don't think the health service were trying to deceive us. I think they were still discovering.
Well, sure. But that's the ongoing thing, particularly with the virus that mutates a lot. Yeah. Especially something that came on that quickly.
And the fact that we
the bottom line on this particular article is that you have the H1N1. That seems to be a constant one all the time. It's always out there. And so I wonder why that one hasn't mutated, but it's always out, or maybe they've got the
I'm wondering whether the
most recent variation.
I'm wondering whether the H3N2 is actually a more recent variation of that.
No, not of the H1N1. No, what they're doing is H1N1 mutates. Okay, it's just like COVID beta, COVID, whatever the different names of COVID were. It's just the same thing mutating, and then it mutates. You may have 2 or 3 different strains of COVID. And H1N1, apparently what they're telling you here is they've got the most recent incarnation of H1N1. So they're not worried about that vaccine, but they didn't get it quite right with the H3N2. They didn't target it exactly. It mutated, but they still say even if you do get the vaccine, the vaccine will protect you somewhat from going to the hospital. You might get sick, but you won't go to the hospital.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
All right. any comments on that. I'm still here. So many people are happy that I'm here. Yeah, we're happy, Rick.
Yeah.
We're happy to see you here. Absolutely. Right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I think it's kind of we've kind of reached the end of the show.
Yes, we have, and it's the end of the week. I'll bring up Gaza again. I always do. Gaza and the West Bank is terrible. The situation going on there, it never ends. The very idea that they want to make the Gaza Strip and the West Bank intolerable to live in. The Israeli settlers are as bad as Hamas in many ways. They attack people, they kill people, they shoot them, they tear down their olive trees that they've been cultivating for 1,000 years. They break into the Palestinian Christian churches, knock them over. They spit on Christians that go there on to go on the Holy Land, and of course, they do all of that plus more to the Muslim Palestinians, and which are the bulk of them. And yet, the world lets this go on. The West Bank was supposed to be Palestinian territory. So was East Jerusalem supposed to be Palestinian territory, and the Gaza Strip was supposed to be Palestinian territory. But Israel wants it. They have an idea of a greater Israel. People like Tucker Carlson, and before him, I think it was that religious guy. I already forgot his name. Who got shot? What's his name?
No, I don't remember.
The guy that got assassinated.
Yeah, don't remember.
Got shot in the throat. Yeah, see, he's already become forgotten. Charlie, Charlie, whatever his name is.
Anyway, Charlie Kirk.
Charlie Kirk. Yeah, he.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Oddly enough, Kirk means Kirk means church. Okay.
I was thinking of somebody else. Sorry. Yeah.
Right. Charlie Kirk.
I was thinking you're talking about an Israeli person, but that's fine.
Yeah. So even he woke up to that, and oddly enough, Kirk means church in Scottish, doesn't it? Kirk. I wonder if that's where, or right. Also in Norwegian, or anyways, whatever the case. I don't know. The United States has to be a client state of Israel, which is weird. That Israel controls the U.S. Congress and Senate so severely. I don't know with their APEC. Anyway, all of that has to be changed. And I don't know if the Palestinians will ever get a state of their own, but if it was up to Netanyahu and his goons, that'll never happen. Anyway, without further delay, without further ado, I bid you without further ado, I bid you adieu. I couldn't get that out right. And have a great weekend, everyone.
Yeah.